Here's a piece of paper which I'm going to read out to you because I will not do justice to it if I try and tell you what I've read. Chris joined Toastmasters in 2007 and became a junkie. He couldn't get enough, joined multiple clubs, and at one stage was a member of 4. That is the definition of junkie. Chris has always been a keen competitor because he hates to lose. He was the district evaluation champion in 2011 and runner-up in 2016. I will just say for relatively new members who don't know what we mean by district, we do a few contests throughout the year. We have our club contest here. Everyone in the club has, everyone who wants to has an opportunity to join the evaluation contest along with other contests. If you win that, you go on to join the area contest, competing against the winners from 5 or 6 other clubs in the area. If you win that, you go on to the division contest. Got that the right way around? Competing against the winners of all the other areas. If you win that, you go on to the district contest. So it gives you a scale, not only of the number of Toastmasters clubs, but also of the number of other competitors that Chris will have beaten in that. He's also been in 6 other district contest finals and has a trophy in every discipline. Chris is currently a member of Maidenhead Speakers and is competing in the district final of the Table Trumpets contest this Friday and has still made time to come and join us. So please give a very big welcome to Chris Bowden.
Thank you very much, Alice. Welcome. Lovely to see you all here this evening. Thank you for coming. By show of hands, who has never given an evaluation at Toastmasters? Cool. Is everybody a member? Any non-members? Cool. For those who haven't given an evaluation, why? And just shout out. Is it because you're new, haven't had a chance, or is it because I don't want to do an evaluation because I don't know what I'm doing?
For me, I'm new. I've been here about 4 or 5 sessions. I've not done my first presentation, so I don't kind of feel equipped to do an evaluation.
I'm relatively new at Camberley Speakers. I've done my icebreaker and my first speech, and I'm doing an evaluation on Thursday, so I thought, oh, what a good chance to come along today.
Excellent, excellent, fantastic to hear. I'll have no more excuses from you, Adriana.
I know. I've done a few speeches. I haven't done any evaluation. I think I was just waiting for some training. So, no excuses after today.
Anna, very new?
Yes, I also consider myself relatively new. Since February I'm a member and I've done icebreaker speech and I'm doing Cromar in next meeting, so with this session will help.
Cool. I am of the opinion that anyone can evaluate. And I'll talk, what I want to do today is give you the tools to do it. Talk about why we do evaluations, how we do them, the principles, but also the specifics. And kind of give you a toolkit to say, here's how I can give somebody feedback. Why? Why? Does it matter? Do evaluations matter? Anybody? Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Everyone said yes.
Yes.
So it must be important. So, the only question that really matters. What's in it for me? Why should I care about evaluation? Why should any of us care? What do we get as members of Toastmasters? Anyone want to throw something around?
Feedback?
Feedback. Great. What do you do with that?
Well, for example, if you've got tics or ways of talking or ways of standing, someone who is going to give you constructive feedback can give you a safe environment so you can learn. Because at work, people will often snigger and take to their colleagues, look at that pillock up front, but then it's you. So I think that's really helpful from a negative point of view to improve.
Really good point. So, by show of hands again, who would consider that they regularly or semi-regularly get good feedback at work? That is a much higher percentage than I thought. I get none. Honestly, I get none. I get once a year, I get an annual review which I write myself. And the only feedback I tend to get is if something goes wrong. You can relate to that?
Yeah.
Do you get, what sort of feedback do you get at work that's actually useful, positive, or useful? Anyone? Paul?
my work's quite target based, so it's a lot of facts and figures, so it depends on whether you've hit certain facts or figures.
Yeah.
There is a presentation element, so when that does happen, that's always nice when you get some positive feedback, but it's very general. I think with Toastmasters is the specific that's particularly abused.
Yeah. Specific. Good word. We'll definitely cover that. Anyone else? What makes good feedback?
Well, I chat here, it's being specific. Identifying an exact point at which what you said, when you said it was relevant, or, as I also ask people, is when it made no sense, but you nodded why. So you often get a presentation where people can sit there in agreement and have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, they don't tell you.
Yeah.
When it's objective,
Yeah.
rather than subjective.
Yeah, absolutely. We love objective is great. There is probably an argument that whether anything is ever truly objective, there's always going to be an element of subjectivity in it. But sort of talk a little bit later about, you know, personal versus objective feedback. It's an interesting area. Okay. Why is it good at Toastmasters? In fact, I'll just go through what this slide says. If I teach Andy something, I will learn from that. Hopefully Andy will learn. That'll be a bonus. But I find if you want to know, if you understand something, teach it to somebody else, and then you'll find out whether you do or not. We learn by teaching, and you find out whether you do understand or you don't by getting someone else to understand. Who's on the old education program? The confident communicator, etc. Pathways? Awesome. Go you people. Go Pathways. Right, on Pathways you have to be an evaluator to finish your second project in level 1, and you also have to have been an evaluator to complete level 3, which is a little bit redundant because you didn't level 1. Nonetheless, you need to be an evaluator. Most importantly, what is the main way we learn at Toastmasters? Yeah, I'll give you a clue, I'm doing it now. It's by standing in front of a group of people and getting used to it, and evaluation is another way of doing that. It's not just about giving a prepared speech or a table topic. Every time you do a role and you open your mouth and you say something to a group, you are increasing your confidence and your skills of doing public speaking. So it's a good thing. Evaluation also helps the club, does it? I'm throwing it out. Obviously, I think it does. How? Anyone in particular? How's your club aided?
Pick up on tips from other people.
Yeah, absolutely. More generally for the club?
I think it starts to create a level of trust in the club when so when you come in and you see someone else receiving some really constructive criticism or feedback. I think it helps to break down any barriers.
Yeah.
It's also part of teamwork as well, because we can all, people typically think they come to Toastmasters to speak, but it's as much to listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get points, don't we? For
Yes.
against them.
DCP, the DCP program, Distinguished Club Program. A couple of the points I had. Your meetings are better, obviously. You know, if there are good quality evaluations, you get better meetings that people want to be at. If you're a guest and you see someone getting good feedback at a meeting, does that make you feel more like, well, there's a place I want to be? I want some of that. And of course, if members are getting good feedback, hopefully they'll stay around longer. Help your member retention. When you give an evaluation, what is your attitude? I think one of the intimidating things that people have is giving any sort of feedback is feeling like you're giving a judgment. And it's really fundamental that an evaluation is not a judgment. You are not saying that was right, that was wrong. What you're giving is your impression of what that person did. Here is my response to your speech, my response to your action, your activity. It's not, I am going to judge you from on high and say, you did it right, no, you did it wrong, fix it. And you're giving a person a gift. Really, you're giving them a sweet little gift and saying, here's me trying to help you just by giving you what I felt. And when you join Toastmasters, giving an evaluation can be quite intimidating, that idea. Because you think, I don't know much about public speaking, that's why I joined Toastmasters. I think we're all in the same boat. None of us, I imagine, were particularly confident. I certainly wasn't. So you may not have been a Toastmaster or a public speaker for a long time, but you have been listening your entire life. So you, right now, have something to offer any single speaker. Any speaker who stands in front of you, you have useful feedback to give them. That's it, really. Right, we're done. So all I want to do is give you the tools to actually give them that gift. And to do that, it's $1. Because an evaluation is not a judgment. Simple, fundamental. You're not judging anybody, you're just helping them as best you can. This is a complicated bit. There is an equation for how to become a better evaluator. So I'll go through a piece at a time. Right, you with me? And we're done. You can evaluate right now. The more you learn about the craft, the techniques of public speaking, the better you will become at it. You can give someone valuable feedback now. You can give them even more valuable feedback the more you learn about the skills of public speaking. Do you have any resources where you could learn those things? No?
YouTube?
YouTube, sure, that's one. Any other?
Toastmaster meetings.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. There's one. Any other resources you may?
Pathways.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, possibly a bit closer to
Pathways.
Pathways. Oh, is it some sort of a, what's the word, education program? Absolutely, yeah. Pathways, you've got obviously the guidance for each project. You've got, within Pathways in the reference section, you can dig in. There are a whole lot of videos and tutorials there. It's a little bit clunky to get into, but you can get through. There's lots of resources there. You have the Competent Communicator Manual from the old program. Brilliant resource. There's a box full of manuals there, I'm guessing. Toastmasters manuals in that box?
Yeah.
Yeah, have a dig through, see what you can learn. The more you learn, the more in-depth feedback you can give someone. That's kind of it. The rest is just practice. Come on. Okay. Good. Right. Summary of section 1. Evaluation is good. You're not a judge, and the more you know, the better you'll be at it. Clear enough? Any questions? Any questions at any point, holler out. Make sense? We're all ready to go. Who has been in an evaluation contest in Toastmasters? Anybody? A few. Excellent. Excellent. Did you see the judging form? Yes. Yes. No. Little tip. Anytime you enter a contest, check out the judging form. You'll know what they're looking for. That's what they're looking for. So that's the broad brush of the Toastmasters evaluation contest judging form. And I'm kind of going to base it around that because after 90 odd years, Toastmasters have said, this is what we're looking for in a good evaluation. So I think that's a reasonable guide. 40% analysis, analytical quality, 30% recommendations, 15% technique, 15% for your summary. Okay. You may or may not ever enter an evaluation contest. I heartily endorse it. Go in it, it's a great experience, no matter how you do. But the same skills apply in a contest or in a club or any way you're giving feedback. So that's how I'm going to base it around. Analytical quality, and the judge's sheet says it should be clear and focused. How do we do a clear and focused evaluation? Hands up if you're giving an evaluation who does not use any notes. Yeah, didn't need that. In 2015, I was at the Toastmasters conference in Ireland for the evaluation contest, the district final, the grand final. and I sat behind Simon Bucknell. Simon Bucknell was in the contest, and I was sitting just over his right shoulder. And in the contest, a test speaker comes on stage, and then all the evaluators watch the same speech, and they come back and give their evaluations one after the other. And Simon sat in his chair like this, and didn't move a muscle for the next 7 minutes. And then he went off into the room, prepared, came out and did an amazing evaluation and won the contest. He's the only person I've ever seen who did not take any notes at all during a speech.
One of our members here, Clinton, he does that.
Clinton's also a very good evaluator, yeah. I, on the other hand, have a blank piece of paper. This is a much easier way to do it. I am a huge fan of completely blank paper, no notes, no lines, but entirely personal preference. John Lewis sells these brilliant sort of plain brown notebooks. Have you ever been reading a book while someone's talking to you? Yep. How does that go? Usually not well, either for the person talking to you or for your book. Men. You can't multitask. Ladies, you can't multitask either. Okay? That's all nonsense. You can do one thing and do it well, or you can do several things badly. So, if you are writing notes, you are not listening to the speaker. The more you write, the less you listen. I remember my first evaluation. I was in my club and speaker, and I wrote, and I had an A4 sheet of paper, and I wrote I had a page covered in notes, and I had no idea what she'd said. I had no idea what the speech was about. I was looking at this during the break going, I don't really know what she was talking about. I've just written some quotes and some things about body language and voice, but I didn't hear any of the speech because I was too busy writing. So, my technique is to use a form of taking notes where you write as little as possible and as little as you need to. Several ways to do this. The simplest is take a blank piece of paper, draw a line down the centre of it, and write commend and recommend. Good things, bad things. That way, anything you write on this side of the page was a good thing. Anything you write on this side of the page is a thing for improvement. You've already shortened everything you've written. Simple. A lot of people use that. Effective. I don't. I do that because I'm an engineer. And then I write that. So, blank piece of paper, boxes at the top, and in those boxes I write BC, BC, BR, BR, OCB. Voice, commend. Voice, recommend. Body, commend. Body, recommend. So, same thing, left and right, good, bad, voice, body. Anything that goes in those boxes is about voice or body. Oh, opening. Good speech opening, easy content for your evaluation. Don't always use it, sometimes do. Content, nice big box of content. I want lots of content. P, what's P stand for? Nope. What is the most important thing in any speech?
Presence.
Again?
Presence. The presence of things.
No, I'll cover that up there.
Plan.
Planning. I don't care about their planning, I care about their delivery. Purpose. Purpose. Yes. The single most fundamentally important thing in any speech, what's the purpose? So this is where I write about their objective. Did they meet it? And then I just use any little shorthand I can. Draw an eye with a little arrow because the speaker was looking down at the ground. They were loud, I could hear them, good volume. They said, terrible times, lovely bit of alliteration. They said that multiple times. Those were terrible times. What was their purpose? They were trying to persuade me. Did they? Kind of. Needed more examples. Couldn't see the application. Whatever works for you, find a way to write as much as makes sense. As much as that may look very scientific, I don't know if it does or not. The reality is, it looks like a mess. Those are my notes from when I won the district evaluation contest. So my handwriting is appalling. That was an A5 sheet of paper, just a slightly smaller version of that notebook. I never evaluate on A4 because if I have a page that big, I'll fill it with notes. What I would do is cut that in half, draw a line down there, make it into an A5, and then I'll force myself to write less. I kind of borrowed this technique from a man I'll talk about a little bit later, who is an outstanding speaker and evaluator. I've massaged it over the years to a way when I'm comfortable, it works for me. Just find a technique that works for you. Write less, listen more. So, you're going to take some notes. The speaker's going to say things. Fundamentally, what is an evaluation made up of? Anytime someone talks about evaluations, they will talk about C and R. Do we know what C and R are? Hit me. Commend and recommend. Yeah, commend and recommend. An evaluation, a good evaluation is made up fundamentally of two things, and that is commendations and recommendations. Recommendations form 30% of the judging criteria in an evaluation contest, so kind of important. Recommendations are the nuggets of feedback where you say, this could be better, this could be different. There is a way to do this that would be more effective. Have you ever seen an evaluation where the evaluator stands up and does something like this? Contest chair, Toastmaster, fellow members and guests. Graham gave a speech and Graham talked about his dog. And then Graham told us about how he bought his dog. And then Graham told us about what happened when his dog came home. And then Graham told us about what happened when his dog was toilet training. And Graham told us about what it was like walking his dog. And then Graham told us about the colour of his dog. And the whole evaluation is just retelling speech. Seen these? Yeah, it's my least favourite type of evaluation. Because you're not... There is some benefit in reflecting back to the speaker what they said. However, the speaker knows what they said and everybody in the room knows what they said. Don't need you to retell the speech. You don't add anything by doing that. If you say, Graham told us about what it was like when he got his dog home, and I thought that was quite touching because he's talked about how excited he was. He talked about how happy it made him. He talked about his children playing with the dog. And the language he used was very vivid and it really brought it to life, I could see it. I'll talk about observations in a second. My key phrase is that one. You're an analyst, not a journalist. Journalists tell you what happened and analysts tell you why it happened and what it means. So your job is to tell me not what the speaker said, but what effect the thing the speaker said had. Which means an evaluation is made up not of retelling speech, but of commendations. I like this because. Recommendations. I thought this could be better because. And also, occasionally, observations. Sometimes when a relative beginner evaluator could be evaluating an advanced speaker, or could be any speaker, and you think, something about that just wasn't quite right, didn't quite work for me, but I don't know how to fix it. You know that feeling? It's like that speaker lost me in the middle, I'm not quite sure what went wrong. To me, that's really valuable feedback. So rather than not saying anything because you don't know how to fix it, just give them an observation. When Soledad started talking about her trip to Barbados, and she talked about checking into the hotel, I was a bit lost there. I wasn't quite sure if we were still on the same message as earlier. So that's an observation, and that's valuable. You may not have the tools, or you may just not know at the moment. what to do with that, whether that should be removed from the speech or stated a different way. It doesn't matter. That observation is really valuable. But fundamentally, a speech is made up of those. Now, speaking of speeches, I want to play with one. So, Andy, do you want to have a little break and then give a speech? Or you want to just crack right into it now?
Can go into it.
Yeah? How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, in that case, shall I do the honours or do you want to?
Let's do it this way. If we're moving on to Andy, can we just do a quick thank you then for Chris for that piece before we move on from there? Are you going to stay on the stage?
No, well, no, not the whole time. That would be annoying, wouldn't it?
It probably.
Okay, I'm going to ask, can you evaluate Andy's speech, please? Take notes. Use whatever method you choose, the line down the centre of the page, or a more complex one, or some people like a mind map, building circles, whatever works. In some way, I would like you to take some notes on Andy's speech and think about what he said, what he's trying to say, what his purpose was, what worked for you, what didn't. And we will take down analysis, etc.
Thank you very much. Chris, okay. Well, Andy just gets himself...
Thank you, Andy. Brilliant little speech. What do we think? All good? Yeah, fantastic. Did you take any notes? We're about at our first break, aren't we? Shall we? Okay. Let's take a little coffee break, or tea break, or whatever we do. And review your notes. We'll go over them after the break. Okay, 10 minutes.